This is the 2022 Mercedes AMG EQS. It is electric, it is fast, and it makes other cars on the road feel incomplete. I want to thank Mercedes-Benz for providing me with this review unit for the week. This one is finished in the matte gray paint. It's called Manufacturer Selenite Gray Magno, which is a $3,250 paint option. It has a black and gray Napa leather interior with carbon fiber trim. This also comes with a carbon ceramic braking system, upgraded wheels, and a whole lot of other packages, driving the total price of this car after delivery to a whopping $166,520. And in this video, I want to give you a tour of this electric full-size luxury sedan and give you my personal rating on the exterior, interior, technology, the power, and driving experience. So if you want to check out any of those sections, feel free to jump through the chapters down below on the video. And at the end of the video, I want to give you my overall rating of what I think about this car. There's a lot to talk about in this video, so let's get right to it. Let's begin with the exterior first. The EQS looks like an EV. It has a typical teardrop profile. There's a closed-off front end with minimal inlets, aerodynamic door handles that pop back into the door so it doesn't disturb the airflow, and there's a generally smoothed out appearance, so it can be as slippery as possible at speed. Meaning all of this smoothness and the design has resulted in a drag coefficient of 0.2, which is fantastic. The lower the number, the more efficient this car will be at traveling further distances with the energy that it has. Cars like the Tesla Model S and the Lucid Air has a drag coefficient within the same ballpark. And just for comparison's sake, the JL Jeep Wrangler, which is the latest generation, has a drag coefficient of 0.45. So in its quest for aerodynamic efficiency, the EQS had to sacrifice a bit of design flair. It doesn't look as stately as a Mercedes S-Class, and it doesn't look as sporty as any of the Mercedes coupe offerings. It looks like a bubble. This being the AMG EQS, which is the performance-oriented version that promises more style and exhilaration. You see a couple of features that live up to that expectation up front, like the front fascia that has a more sculpted set of dimples. And then there's the fake grille pattern, which is completely unnecessary for a car that doesn't have an engine that needs to breathe. Both of these features give off that AMG GT aggressive style, and they are pretty good additions to an otherwise boring front end. The side doesn't get much more exciting either, unless you focus on the stopping hardware. This model comes with very large carbon ceramic braking system with big calipers. And then there's the black 21-inch multi-spoke wheels. Normally, I hate these types of wheels because they'd be very difficult to clean, but I won't mind it on this car because the carbon ceramic brakes, they actually don't leave as much dust compared to your traditional steel rotors and normal brake pads. And finally, at the back end, the AMG EQS actually looks pretty good. The single taillight configuration has a pretty elegant presentation. There's also that lip spoiler, which is slightly more pronounced compared to the non-AMG version of this car. And then finally, there's the fake venting that adds just a bit more aggressive style. So I'm giving the exterior rating a 7 out of 10. I think Mercedes did a great job making this as aerodynamic as possible, but it came at a cost of very dry styling. But all of that changes inside because this car has a way of making a dramatic statement with every interior feature. Starting with the incredible, quote, hyperscreen, which blends the digital instrument cluster, the infotainment system, and the passenger screen into one large curved glass surface. I'll talk more about this in the tech section, but this is a gorgeous presentation that is bound to impress every person that steps inside. Also, luxury cars usually have very good ambient lighting systems, and this AMG EQS does not disappoint. If the hyperscreen doesn't light up the interior enough, this car comes with a generous supply of LED piping that surrounds you entirely. You can switch between different color schemes, and they can even animate to reflect how you're driving. The effect can be very distracting, but we humans like very shiny things, and shiny things are good. As for the other surfaces that aren't lit up, they look and feel good to the touch. All of the seats are covered with Napa leather and have great feel to them. Of course, they are heated and ventilated and have plenty of powered adjustment. And they also have a massaging feature. Even the rear seats have a massaging feature because this comes with the executive rear seat package. The armrests, door cards, headliner, center console, and the dash have a mixture of very high quality microfiber, leather, carbon fiber, thick plastics, and metal surfaces that don't feel cheap. Looking at the steering wheel, this has the traditional Mercedes-Benz 3 double-spoke design with 4 touch-sensitive button panels. And then there's an extra rotary dial with some buttons that give off that Formula One steering wheel vibe. As for these touch-sensitive buttons, they will take some time to get used to, but I do like how it allows you to control everything on the digital instrument cluster and also the infotainment screen. And if you're one of those people that don't like to get fingerprints on screens, then you're better off using these things to keep everything looking clean. Even though they say this is a fingerprint-resistant screen, you still get to see some smudge marks every now and then. As for the second row, the AMG EQS can be one of those cars that's better to be driven in than it is to drive. The seats also recline and they can be heated or ventilated. And included with the executive rear seat package, you also get this tablet that you can undock and a wireless charger. And in terms of cargo space, the EQS has a very big hatch that can give you between 22 to 63 cubic feet of space, depending on whether you fold the second row down or not. So I'm giving the interior a rating of 10 out of 10. This AMG EQS looks and feels like you've got your money's worth, and it will surely impress everyone that steps inside. Now, in terms of technology, the AMG EQS lives up to that expectation too, with some slight hang-ups here and there. The MBUX interface is pretty good with a lot of built-in features and controls. It will take some time for you to become an expert at it to know where everything is, just because of the sheer number of features. Fortunately, the menus make a lot of sense and it's generally easy to navigate through. The center infotainment screen is a 17.7-inch OLED touchscreen. So this is not a traditional LED screen, this is an organic LED, which means that you're going to have better contrast ratios and better black levels. Maybe great for TVs and your iPhone or something like that, but maybe a bit overkill for a car screen. But where this really pays off is when you're driving at night, because the black parts of the screen blend in really well into the non-screen parts, because those individual LEDs are actually off, which is the nature of OLED displays. The front passenger screen is a 12.3-inch touchscreen. That's also an OLED display. And just like the Grand Wagoneer that I've tested in the past, a screen for the passenger is a great thing because it gives them the ability to easily control the music, climate, the massage settings, and also for inputting navigation information as well. This is the perfect tool for your co-pilot. And when they're bored, you can also pull up some simple games like Tetris or Sudoku. Now, whether an AMG EQS is a good gaming platform is another story, because you have to be insane to be playing Tetris on a touchscreen in a moving car. As for the digital instrument cluster, this is a 12.3-inch standard LED display, and you can toggle through various display modes and designs via the touch-sensitive controls on the steering wheel. All in all, the Hyperscreen is an impressive-looking piece of tech, and it generally works smoothly if you ignore the slight stumbles and slowdowns upon startup. Other nice features embedded within the MBUX system is wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and that will work nicely with the wireless charging system down below. But if you do need to plug in, there are 6 USB-C connections in this car. To help with navigation, there's an augmented reality video that will display big arrows where you need to go next. And there's also a nice vehicle assistant that you can access with Hey Mercedes. Other noteworthy pieces of tech is the lighting. The LED daytime running light looks luxurious, but the headlight is the real star here. The automatic high beams can gently and gradually turn on, and they can change the beam pattern depending on whether you're turning or going straight. Inside, I've already discussed the impressive customizable LED lighting, but another thoughtful addition is when you're reaching to grab something on the passenger seat, The interior light will even turn on automatically. As for driving assistance and safety, you find the traditional features that you can find in other cars like adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert. This car also comes with a 360-degree surround view system and also a dash cam. But what makes this car even better with those systems is that once you lock the car, it will arm the security system so that when a door or a trunk is inadvertently open or something nudges against it, it will turn on the surround view camera and take some pictures so that you can catch whoever's doing that to you. And one other noteworthy safety feature of this car is the car-to-X communication system, which means that if the car senses something like a wheel spin, or if you turn on your hazards, or even turn on your wiper, it will communicate to a central communication system, which will then tell other cars with the car-to-X communication system that, hey, there's something hazardous on this road. This is just one way cars can become more smart and more safe, is when it can communicate with the environment and it can communicate with other cars. There's only so much one car can do with the built-in sensors. Only when it can communicate with other things and therefore traffic becomes one smart entity can we have a more reliable semi to full autonomous system. I'm not saying that this AMG EQS is there yet, but at least this communication method is trending in the right direction. So for technology, I'm giving this car a 10 out of 10 because this EQS is packed with a lot of tech and they all work pretty nicely. I love that Mercedes-Benz has been able to push car expectations throughout history. So while a lot of these things may seem excessive for now, soon enough it'll become more widespread and they're going to be used by other car companies. Now let's talk about power. The AMG EQS is equipped with dual permanent magnet motors, one for each axle, and together they produce 649 horsepower and 700 pound-feet of torque. There's also a race start function which will momentarily give you up to 751 horsepower and 752 pound-feet of torque, albeit for a very short time. There's a couple of limitations to that, of course. You have to be in Sport Plus mode, you have to have a state of charge that's 80% or greater, and you also have to be starting from 0 miles per hour, like in a drag race. But even without the race start function, this AMG EQS is a freaking missile. Just like other EVs with big dual motors, this will pin you at your seat, 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 3.4 seconds. That's about 0.8 Gs. So imagine feeling 80% of the weight of your own body going in that direction. And all of that happens with no sudden changes in acceleration because there's no gears to shift in and out of. This is all direct drive. And as for the battery, this has a 107.8 kilowatt hour battery. If you have a traditional level 2 charger at home, this will go from 10% to 100% state of charge in less than 12 hours. And if you have a DC fast charger or a level 3 system, this maxes out at 200 kilowatt charging speed and you can go from 10% to 80% charge in 31 minutes. To fully charge to 100% on a fast charger, you may have to wait about an hour or so because as the battery gets more full, the charging speed will drop. So this will get an estimated 277 miles of range on an optimal day and under normal driving. That's a decent amount of range, but it is considerably less than what you can get from the more reasonable EQS 450 Plus, which will get 350 miles of range. So I'm giving the AMG EQS a power rating of 10 out of 10, because you would expect a car in this price range to be able to go this quickly. Race start or normal start, this is a blisteringly quick car that will make your passengers laugh or quickly shut them up. And it's great that you can take advantage of the faster charging systems out there so you can spend more time on the road. Finally, let's talk about the driving experience of the AMG EQS, and I want to start with the ride quality first. This is a very comfortable car to drive. From a noise perspective, this being an EV, there is no noise, vibration, or harshness coming from the engine bay because there is no engine. And the general road and wind noise is also minimized thanks to that luxury car level of sound deadening materials and the very low coefficient of drag. It is so serene in here that Mercedes will artificially add in more noise to set the mood. If you want a more sporting ambiance during Sport Plus mode, that's available, and it's going to make the car more noisy. The suspension is also on air, and that's adjustable depending on the different driving modes. And if that's not enough comfort, of course, there's built-in massaging features that will be very helpful on long drives. In terms of handling, the EQS is like most other EVs where the center of gravity is located very low on the ground. However, the AMG EQS is a heavy car. It's anywhere between 5,600 to 5,800 pounds, depending on the options. So on those back roads, you could really feel the heft of this car when you quickly change directions. It doesn't help that I'm driving this during the winter time, so this tester is equipped with winter tires. So handling and braking is greatly affected by it. But even if you have summer tires on, it still won't feel as athletic compared to other lighter weight EVs. And in terms of braking, there's 3 levels of regeneration, or what Mercedes-Benz calls recuperation, and you can adjust those by the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. You can emulate the one-pedal driving feel if you're operating under the strongest recuperation, or if you want to emulate other cars where you can coast when you lift off the gas, you can do so under the lightest setting. This car also has a rear steer system, and this car has a wheelbase of 126.4 inches, which is 6 inches longer than a Chevy Tahoe. This is a long car, and with the rear steering system, it actually makes the car feel like it's a shorter wheelbase car and also much more maneuverable in tight spaces. And another benefit of the rear steering system is that it feels more stable when you're going at higher speeds. So I think the driving experience is quite good, and I'm giving it a rating of 9 out of 10. It's a great ride and it handles well. The only drawback is when you're presented with a more interesting and fun road, the sheer heft of this car becomes the limiting factor. Otherwise, this is such a fantastic vehicle. So overall, this AMG EQS is a technological marvel. It is a brutally quick luxury car, and it has plenty of features that continually push the boundaries of expectation. This car makes other cars feel incomplete. Therefore, I'm giving this AMG EQS a total rating of 9.2 out of 10. I want to hear your thoughts on this, so please leave your comments down below. If you've learned something from this video, please consider hitting that like, subscribe, and that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime I make a new video. Let's wrap it up right there. My name's Hanson. This has been the 2022 Mercedes AMG EQS, and I'll see you in the next one.